My name's Jay Ingersoll, and I'm 58 years old. And I was born and raised here in Klamath Falls, and I've lived here most of my life. I'm currently employed at Sky Lakes Medical Center. I am a pharmacy clerk. I take care of transactions during the day for folks. I had moved away for a while. I lived in Southern California, and a relationship didn't work out, and I was discussing it with my parents on the phone, and my mother said that she needed some help with my father, who had dementia at the time and was getting worse. And so I decided I would move back here. I did my best. I often neglected my own my own life or my parents' life. My health is not always the best. I tend to lose a lot of weight. I get exhausted. I have migraines. I have ongoing migraines, and sometimes they're rolling migraines, which means I get rid of one and another one comes to me. Sometimes I have to get injections to get the migraines to stop. I found Mr. Sutton online. He seemed quite helpful, which was a huge relief to feel like there was somebody on my side.
He was in contact with my office as he was being sued by Carter Jones Collection Service in Klamath Falls for about $14,000 in unpaid, uninsured medical bills. And he's one of many people over there. If you look at the court docket in Klamath Falls, it seems like Ms. Carter Jones sues just about everybody over there for their Sky Lakes medical bills, and he was one of them.
Sky Lakes, they sent me to collections, and I tried to make arrangements with collections, and even though I was willing to pay them, they still took me to court. It was at the beginning of COVID, and I had a trial that they were going to do over the phone for me because I couldn't meet in public at the courthouse. And they said they sent a notification to me at an address that I've never been associated with. So I missed the first part of that, but when I was aware that there was a problem, I was very confused about it. They sent me some notifications after that I couldn't understand.
It became pretty clear to me that the collection agency was collecting more than they were entitled to. They had excessive interest on there, and so I just decided to represent him without charging him. And so the way that works is we do a document request and we started gathering information. And once that information is obtained through the discovery process, you're able to tell, for sure whether some of your theories about the interest and things like that are actually correct. And so we were able to tell, this isn't right. They were collecting more than they were entitled to. So this is a case where a member of our community in Klamath Falls, Oregon, somebody that qualified for 95% reduction on his medical bills because of his station below the poverty line, got sued for the full value of those medical bills, no discount, no financial assistance on the amounts that he was sued for, and plus interest he was sued for. And so this was a case about defending him against that collection. They forced us to a 3-day trial on amounts they already won on the summary judgment motions, just so they could recover more money in attorney fees against somebody that didn't have the money to pay him, and somebody that could have to file bankruptcy if he's forced to pay him or if his wages are garnished.
About a month or so before the trial, Mr. Sutton discussed with me bringing Mr. Kirkpatrick on from Oregon Consumer Justice, and it felt like a real relief as to what Mr. Sutton had explained to me. The folks at Oregon Consumer Justice would be able to assist with, and it's been a huge help. I'm very appreciative of Mr. Sutton and Mr. Kirkpatrick for that.
We had Matt Kirkpatrick there, and paralegal Lucia Becchetti was there, and Robert Lee was providing a lot of advice behind the scenes, which was great.
We went down there because there were things that Carter Jones did really wrong in the way they treated Mr. Ingersoll. Well, Sky Lakes, the hospital, doesn't charge interest. They made a decision. They admitted in court that they don't collect interest because they think it's too much of a burden. It's not fair. It's not reasonable. But for the people that can't pay, they sent it to the collection agency, and the collection agency still tried to collect interest. And yes, there are laws against that. The only problem is thousands of times a year, there's no attorney on the consumer side to keep them from doing that. And so they get the judgment, they get the interest. Well, here, the jury, it was on the jury form, and asked the jury, are they entitled to interest? No. Did they waive interest? Yes. And so right off the bat, it's not just $5,000 here, but it's $5,000 thousands of times a year just in Oregon. So that's why we went down there.
And there's also a federal case pending because under federal law, you're not allowed to sue people for more than they actually owe on their medical bills. It violates the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And here, as the jury confirmed, Jay didn't owe the interest. The jury also did something that we were trying to get the court to do all along, is to credit Jay for his payments. He actually made a couple payments on these bills, that the collection agency never credited. And we had to go all the way through a jury trial to finally get those payments credited.
I think how OCJ showed up to support attorney Matt Sutton in this particular instance is a really great example of one of the ways in which we can support consumer attorneys. If law can inform policy as to where the pain points are, where consumers are not receiving the justice that they ought to be, policy can work either at the local level, the state legislature, or with Congress to be able to change those laws so that we can prevent people from even getting to the situation that, for example, Mr. Ingersoll found himself in before it even happens.
The other side is always much better funded. Here, the attorneys for the collection agency had, their office is 2 blocks away. Jay's attorney had to drive 2 hours, 3 hours maybe from Medford, to go to that trial. It's got to have a place, to stay. They've got an office to do the things that come up during the trial. They've got staff that do. And so, Lucia and I went down there and, have done consumer trials, done lots of trials, and knows the things that come up. So we had our office in the hotel. We had a little mini office like right outside the courtroom. So when things come up, we can take care of them just like they can, or even better than they can. And this way, we were able to even the playing field, preserve things for appeal, and do everything we could at trial to make it a better result for Mr. Ingersoll.
The trial lasted 3 days. And it was a bit laborious at times, and I think the big thing that really came from the trial is the fact that the interest wasn't valid. The jury found that to be on my side. I am really hopeful that they will find some ways to address how they handle business between the hospital and Carter Jones.
People like Jay help OCJ promote access to justice because these cases rarely go to trial. And when you go to trial, you shed light on the truth and the wrongful conduct comes to light.
Moreover, these stories also serve as real-life examples as to how the practices that serve corporate interests disenfranchise hardworking people every day. And that imbalance is what OCJ is trying to restore.
It's important for cases like this to go to trial, especially a jury trial, because people like Jay, they never get to tell their story. Outside the courtroom, the wrongful debt collector tells their version of the story. It's part of their business model. They take away a little from people who have little, and they know that there's nothing left to fight back. But there's some people like Jay who trusts in the system go through the process, and finally, their day in court is when the power dynamic shifts from the bad corporation to the hands of the jury made up of the community. That allows Jay to tell his story. And the verdict in this case confirms that what they did was unlawful. Cases like this, where people like Jay stand up for himself and for others in a similar situation, help OCJ fulfill its mission. It changes and impacts real lives, real people, and real families.